Grand Rising, beautiful souls. In man's calendar, it is Sunday morning and the sun is up, but it's cold this morning. I swear it's snowing. It's got to be snowing somewhere. I think it's only going to get to 18 in Kalnira, so it feels like maybe 12 degrees, or maybe 10, something like that. So it's a little bit cold. Sunday morning, we're getting closer to a new moon. The past few nights, it's woken me up, the new moon. It's so bright still, but it's shining through my window right on my face as I'm sleeping. And it's amazing to wake up to, but it's in the weirdest position in the sky. It's just so far north, but it's not, it's in the east direction, but it's like I said, it's wind to end of east, if that makes sense. I'm not sure what moon it's going to be in, and I believe it's next week. So I'll have to have a look into that. I'll be doing a reading around that. It's been a big couple of weeks from the full moon. A lot of a lot of lessons on knowing what you're attached to, knowing what you're not attached to. Big lessons in letting go. Big lessons in really getting to know yourself even deeper. But that's a really good thing, because then with that knowledge, your self-love deepenings, which brings me to kind of like why I'm out here having a chat. It's to do with the 7 seeds of change. So the seeds of change, it is a writing that is on my website, so you're welcome to download it, you're welcome to read it. You're welcome to use it as a practice about anything really, whether it's a project, whether it's self-improvement, healing a core wound, if it's an aspect of yourself that you want to look at and improve. You can use the steps for anything, and you can use the steps as an overall arching pathway as well. There's 7 seeds. So I call them the seeds of change, because they're going to seed you from self-reflection to self-mastery. And there's seeds along the way that each one takes root, that then blossoms into the next seed, which then blossoms into the next seed, and so on, till you actually get to self-love. The first 3 seeds start in the realm of the mental plane. Here we go. I'm going to start reading now. Meaning, it is the thoughts you think, it is the beliefs you believe, it is the words you use to speak about yourself mind. So self-reflection begins in the mind. Everything begins in the mind. Everything. It's the nature of reality. It's in the mind, and that's the projection out of our minds. And a lot of the time, that mind is on autopilot. We're just so used to thinking and using the words that we use that we're not even aware of what we're saying to ourselves, and it can be quite detrimental. Good morning, Kat. I think that's you that's come on. So I'm just going through the 7 seeds of change and just going through the steps, and then we're going to share again about the first step, self-reflection, and then touch on self-awareness and kind of like help cement that through so we can shift and change and grow to carry more light. So the first 3 seeds start in the realm of the mind. Self-reflection, which is really self-exploration, self-observation, try meditation. That leads to self-awareness, which is self-realizing, self-correcting, because we're not perfect. Funny about that. Try journaling. Journaling is an amazing tool to get thoughts onto paper. No censoring, no judgment. As gnarly as it is, as beautiful as it is, get thoughts onto paper. And that gives you a really idea of what's alive in you. So self-awareness leads to self-acceptance, because it's through this self-awareness you've gotten to know yourself. You've gotten to soothe yourself, because all of a sudden you may have realized your whole story has stacked together to get to where you are today. So try compassion, self-compassion. The next seed grounds the mental shifts listed, what I just shared, into the physical plane. So this is the linchpin. It's meaning to actually act and behave with self-respect in your choices, actions, desires. This brings it into matter. So we've gone from mind, we're now into matter. And that's self-respect, self-worth, and self-care. And that's try living by your values. And I didn't know what my values were until I was in my 50s. I kind of like had no idea. So the Dr. Martini, no, what is it? The Martini Institute. I think I've got a link anyway. So if you want it, there's a Martini Institute has got a really good values test. It's quite comprehensive, so it's not like this 5-minute job. You've really got to think about your answers and answer it, and then it kind of like gives you a compilation at the end, a compilation, whatever you pronounce it at the end. And my top 3 values are healing, helping, and spirituality. And when I realised what those were, it made me laugh, because that's actually how I live my life. So I was already living my life by my values, but this just made it really more concrete in my mind to see it in black and white. Don't know why, but seeing it in black and white just kind of like confirmed to me, that's my life, that's my purpose, is my top 3 values. And that's self-respect. That's knowing your values is one thing, living by them, walking your talk kind of thing is another. That's actually where the practice is, and that's where it does start to bring magic into your life. That's where it actually does start to bring the shifts and the changes, is when we walk it in the mundane. And the birds are agreeing. I don't know if you can hear them, but they're above me making their beautiful noises. The third set of seeds completes all of the above in the realm of the causal plane, meaning you'll start to experience and feel the changes you've been walking towards. To me, that's magic. So that's self-trust, which is self-faith and self-protection, try boundaries. That leads to self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-belief. So try then, you'll get into a point where you will be trusting yourself, your confidence will be high, so you will allow yourself to lead with your heart but navigate by your gut. And that leads to self-mastery, that leads to self-love. So it's a practice for me as well. So the seeds of change. By listening and absorbing your thoughts, this plants the first seed, self-reflection. So I just want to share another saying. It's easy to spot a yellow car when you are always thinking of a yellow car. You ever thought of that? When you're going to buy a new car and you kind of like got an idea of what it is, and all of a sudden you start seeing them everywhere. Or another one was when you were pregnant or thinking of having a baby or whatever, you saw pregnant women everywhere. It's a funny phenomena that happens. So easy to spot a yellow car when you're always thinking of a yellow car. Easy to spot opportunity when you're always thinking of opportunity. Easy to spot reasons to be mad when you're always thinking about being mad. That can be me sometimes. You can become what you constantly think about. So watch yourself. It is, I think, because of my story, there's still a part of me that's so accustomed to the negativity or the suffering or the sorrow or the sadness or things just not working out, and just things that you tend to go looking for it because you're so used to it being in your life. So I think this is part of the shift, is accepting that you're changing, accepting that you've got a different thought, a different thing happening, and putting it into practice, and then allowing the body to catch up to that new way of being. And it's a beautiful practice to walk towards, because it does change the quality of your life. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all about. And when we shift our vibration, clear our baggage, drop our shit, and begin to hold a different frequency and hold more light, and then emanate that out to people, and then help them find that as well, we will be making a difference, not just for ourselves, our health, our sanity, but also to those around us, and therefore the collective at large. So self-reflection is the first seed. And we self-reflect only when we stop and listen. If we've constantly got music going, television going, people around us constantly talking, where is the time where you can actually sit and hear yourself that's been one of my things, being an empath and a tele-empath, is having this alone time gives me that time to actually hear myself, feel myself, know myself. So that becomes my barometer now, that when I'm around people, how I feel when I'm around people is now my barometer as to what's going on, because I know my energy and I know my feelings and my thoughts. So when I have a shift and a change in my energy field and I feel different, it'll be who I'm sitting with. So that's going to become my barometer. But I only got to that point by self-reflection. And if you want to love yourself, you've got to know yourself. And the only way you get to know yourself is to listen, is to self-reflect, self-explore, self-observation, all those words. And meditation's the best one. And it's not meditate to drown out your thoughts. It's not to meditate to do chants and ohms and mantras and affirmations. That's a different type of meditation. This meditation is to actually listen. It's just to sit and listen to yourself, and you don't have to do it for long, because I'd imagine it would trigger a lot of people first time starting to face themselves and hear themselves. So just do a few minutes several times a day until it becomes more of a practice. And because I swear, the more you sit with yourself with compassion, love and empathy and curiosity, the biggest one, because then it hasn't got an agenda behind it. It hasn't got any false hope or judgments or criticism. It's just, I'm going to be curious. I'm going to look at this from a rational perspective to see, what am I thinking, what am I feeling, and what's going on and why. You'll open up to yourself more. And that's what you want to do. You want to keep trusting yourself, opening up to yourself, because then you can really start to do some amazing changes and shifts and healing. So wherever you sit, however you do it, it's that quiet time when you can feel yourself, you can hear yourself, closing your eyes, dropping your shoulders, breathing into your belly, listening to the noises around. That brings me back into my body. And it helps me to also check in with how am I feeling, what's my intent, am I getting carried away with something, am I squirreling down a rabbit hole that I've probably squirreled down 1,000 times before, and what's the point? There does come a point in our lives where we draw a line. Well, I'm drawing a line in the sand and going, that's enough. That's enough. Now, let's do something different. And so that's one of the trickiest things I think I first encountered when doing this practice was, well, how do you think differently? When you start to self-reflect and you start to hear what you're hearing, and you start to realize your self-language and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about other people and how you feel about life and how you just feel about things in general, then what? Well, that'll come next. That's the self-awareness. But the self-reflection actually means serious thought about one's character and one's actions. So self-reflection is serious thought. So it's carving out that time, consciously sitting down and choosing to listen to what you're thinking about anything. You don't have to try and do it about everything. You could pick one topic and just sit with it, feel into it, whether it's your garden, whether it's planting, whether it's an ex, whether it's your partner now, whether it's your siblings, whether it's your parents, whether it's your job, whether it's a work colleague, whatever it is. You can sit with it and feel into it and really question your thoughts and your feelings and what's going on to find you in it. It's that self-reflection. And we do this so we may become aware of our thoughts that make up our characters and our actions. For it all begins with a thought first. There's always thought behind action, even if it's unconscious, even if it's autopilot. There's still the thought first that drives the body. The body just doesn't get up and do its own thing, although sometimes it feels it's doing it that sometimes. That's just that cognitive dissonance. But you imagine a brain dead person. They don't get up and walk around because the brain's not sending those signals anymore. So it's retraining the brain, and we've got to reflect to know what we're retraining. And one of the easiest and simple tools is meditate. It's free, and you can do it anywhere really, anytime. Well, the better you get at it, you can do it anywhere, anytime. It's probably best to start with a discipline of a time, and you set yourself 5 minutes. And it may go quickly, it may feel like hours, but it's to get into that practice of hearing yourself so you know yourself. Many years ago, I found when I was falling asleep, I began to hear what I was thinking, and I was quite shocked at what I was thinking because it was quite detrimental to myself. And then I found as I was waking up out of sleep that I could wake up and put myself straight into anxiety, just like that, with a thought. So I began practicing listening to those thoughts and really not being angry at myself or calling myself stupid, but it was like really caring for myself and just going, oh, don't do that to yourself. Don't feel that way. What's that going to do? It's not going to help. And you want help. So you start to talk to yourself with kindness, and you start to shift that inner language. So that's your self-reflection. That's what's going to help you really dig deeper with kindness and compassion, and you really do then ripple it out to the world. So that was what we've been, well, that's what I've been sitting with for this past week, is really asking myself some deep questions, because there's been some shifts and changes in my world, and it's really important to me to feel that I'm on the right path, being so sensitive that it can trigger a response in me, and then I've got to work through that. So being self-aware, and especially these past couple of weeks, has really given me some tools, and it's like, oh, I'm getting to know myself even better, even deeper, and loving it, and really starting to embrace it, and really going, and it is, you get to that point where it's not that you don't care what other people think, but how you feel about yourself and what you think about yourself matters more. That's what's really important. That's got to come first. And then you can, check yourself with that feedback loop, which is what you're experiencing in life, and whether something needs to shift or change, or you're kind of like on track. So once we start to self-reflect, once we start to hear ourselves, then what? Then you start to become aware of the language you're using. Then you start to become aware of how you feel about yourself, how you feel about other people. And then you realize that you're walking yourself around in that energy all day, every day. That's it. Because of those thoughts that you're thinking, that dictates your energy, your signature, your vibration. And you become aware of that and realize, well, if I do that, that may be detrimental to my physical health. That may be detrimental to my mental health. That may be detrimental to my relationships. What do I do? What's this showing me? So by becoming consciously aware of your thoughts, choosing to know what you're thinking, this plants the second seed, self-awareness. Self-awareness is self-realizing. It's also self-correcting, and journaling is probably one of the best things. So this is when you're meditating, listening to your thoughts, that you can do is have pad and pen beside you and start writing down your thoughts, even if it's the shopping list, even if it's the to-do list, even if it's whatever it is, and you just start filling up the page. That's going to help you realize what's going on in here, and how maybe distracted you are, or how maybe unfocused but focused on unimportant things you are, or how you're consumed with a certain aspect that may be not healthy for you. By pausing that self-reflection, getting it onto paper, that really helps you become more self-aware. We create magic with every word, every thought, every feeling, and every choice you make. Don't ever forget your power. And I love that. We have this power. We're so free inside of ourselves, but we imprison ourselves with our past and our thoughts and our story and our wounds. So self-awareness in the dictionary means conscious knowledge of one's own character and feelings. So self-reflection was, let me turn the page, serious thought about one's character and actions. Self-awareness is conscious knowledge of one's own character and feelings. We get to self-awareness through the first seed, self-reflection. So as you sit in meditation, quiet contemplation with pad and pen beside you, begin to ask yourself some questions. So there's a list that you can go through. So some of the examples that you can ask yourself when you're meditating with your pad and pen is, what makes you feel powerful? What makes you feel calm? What makes you feel in control? How do you encourage yourself when you're trying something new? That's important. Because when you're trying something new and it's not failing, but you're trying. And so sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, and you're experimenting and you're experiencing. So how do you encourage yourself when you're starting something new? It's really important to be kind and gentle and encouraging yourself. What's a choice you can make this week based on your needs? What's a choice you can make this week based on your needs? How do you shift your mindset if it isn't working for you? It's like, if it's not working out for you, what you're kind of like overwhelmed or consumed with, what tools or what skills have you got to help you shift your mindset? I forget. So I've made a list of my tools. So when I'm triggered, I can get consumed and overwhelmed. It's like I go to that and I check it out, and it's art, it's gardening, it's creative with my hands. That occupies my left brain, which then frees me up to go, what's my intuitive brain telling me? What's my heart telling me? What's my gut telling me? Shut up, brain. How do you recharge? How can you celebrate yourself today? I'm taking myself out for lunch today. I'm excited about that. And I've got a meeting this afternoon, a phone meeting with some friends about a business thing. Well, we'll wait and see. What does your situational best look like today? What does your situational best look like today? So this is where you get to use your imagination as well. And imagination is so important because that seeds your reality. What you're imagining, what you're fearing, that's your imagination. All those scenarios that you're making up in your head, all those stories, those things you're ruminating on or picturing, even the conversations you're probably never going to have, that's creating your reality, those thoughts, that imagination, that visioning, that dreaming. So let's get conscious with that as well. What helps you slow down and feel more present? I like that question too. I'll have to think about that for myself. What can you do today that you didn't think you could do a year ago? Well, it's definitely, that's an easy one. That's my garden. So that shows you what you can do with time, with application. It's everything, is applying it. What's a goal you want to accomplish and why? So these are some of the questions that you can be asking yourself to self-reflect. So you become aware of yourself. What are your answers to these questions? Getting to know yourself. How do you stay focused and steer clear of distractions? Depends on the day. How do you trust yourself to make big decisions? That's part of the journey. This is part of the seeds of change, is learning to trust yourself. Same with how do you set boundaries and avoid absorbing someone else's emotions and stress. I do that by having time alone. How do you savor the time you get alone? How do you notice when you're nearing burnout? That's a really good one to pick up on, and I'm getting better at that, which is really good. How do you share your feelings with the people who care about you? That can be difficult, depending on your story, sharing your feelings, whether they're going to get rebutted or whether they're going to be accepted, whether they're going to be questioned, whether they're going to be shared. So that can be a fear. So that's a really good question to ask, to get to a little bit deeper, to build that self-trust and that self-confidence in discerning who you share with. So you're not feeding this other story going on. How do you remind yourself that you're enough? And I think in this world that we live in, it really likes to help us believe that we think we're not enough, and yet we are. It's like we're works in progress, but masterpieces at the same time. So self-reflection. With your pad and pen, ask yourself some questions. If you're having difficulty around something, or if you're challenged around something, it's a good way to get to the bottom of it, to process it, to shift it and move through it. So you're not sitting in it, so you're not stuck in it, because that becomes your reality. That becomes your experience for the day. And that's us doing it to ourselves. Nobody else is doing it to us. We're doing it to ourselves. Is how you shift those mindsets, and getting to know yourself it's the only way you do it. So if you wanted to go to my website, it's called Seeds of Change. Have a look and ask the questions. Maybe have a list of your own questions, and then of a day or of a morning or however many times, pick a question and sit with it. Get to self-reflect, to become self-aware. And the next seed that we'll touch on will be self-acceptance. And that is being able to reflect back on your awareness about yourself and start to accept yourself, what's and all. Some people find it confronting, facing themselves, because we judge ourselves so harshly, and that could be a language that we're repeating in our heads that we were imprinted with from our parents or our siblings or childhood experiences, and that planted the seed of a certain belief or a certain way of living or being. And like I said before, the older we get, it's kind of like you've got to have more effort, more focus in undoing that, unraveling that, to weave a new story. And then that way, I guess it depends what story you want to write or what path you want to walk. But for me, this has always been leading me not so much out of the shadow. It's really helped me to shine a light on the shadow. And because you can do that for yourself, shine that light on your own shadows with love and inner standing, acceptance. It doesn't mean you condone, and it doesn't mean you'll repeat or try not to repeat. But then it's the same in society, it's the same with the world, it's the same at large, that you start to look at it with a different lens. And we need to bring that vibration in. We need to bring that more light and more inner awarenings and higher perspectives and higher perceptions, to raise the vibration, to shift the timelines, to do, this is us doing the walk, this is us doing the work during these intense times that we're going through. You know, not just humanity, but also the planet, and not just Earth, but all her spheres going up, the stratospheres, the magnospheres. It's like that's her auric field. That's all shifting and changing as well. And there's more cosmic energies coming through to the planet. We're not separate from that. That, even though we can't see it, doesn't mean it's not hitting us. It doesn't mean it's not going through every particle in our being. And we don't know what that's going to do to our bodies, our mind, our way, our feelings. We don't know how that's going to shift and change us. And it's like with these energies that are coming in, and there's lots of reasons why we've got this new energies coming in. It's all been foretold. There's been so many prophecies around it. But with this energy, this new cycle this energy cycle that's ending, and this new energy and this new cycle that's behind it, that's going to be coming, it's how do we get ourselves through this passage of time? We may not see the changes that we try and implement in this generation, but if we don't plant the seed, then what has the future generations got to work with? And if you believe in reincarnation, what kind of world do you want to be born back into? So it's doing my best this life for future generations, and if I happen to be reincarnated again, that I'm trying to help the future by doing something different, by bringing a different frequency. And I think love is the new weapon. And it's even calling it that, is love is the new way. And love doesn't mean allowing all things. You know, there is such a thing as an unconditional love, absolutely, but there's boundaries. You can still have boundaries while still be fully emanating love, because that becomes part of the love, is your boundaries. It's realizing that we're still children. As a species, we really are children, and we need that motherly love and guidance to help us mature and become a different race, set up a different culture than what we've got. So that's why we self-reflect. That's why we have seeds of change, is so we can be better versions of ourselves, even if it's for purely selfish reasons. Your own quality of life, it can't help but have an effect then on the collective, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. So my legs are starting to shake because it is quite cold. I swear it's snowing, and the sun's still behind the trees, but it's going to be a beautiful day. I didn't sleep too well last night, so I've still got the tired eyes, and been enjoying the art and the creativity. So thank you for hanging in there, Kat. I hope you have a beautiful day, sister. You take good care of you, and let's chat soon. Sending so much love. Aho, amen, so mote it be.